Well, I'm back again at Sullivan Park. Haven't been here in a while. I haven't been fishing for a couple of weeks, and so wanted to see how the fishing was like over here now that it's become really hot. And also wanted to try some new baits that I haven't that I just got, and found a whole bunch of ultralight baits that I haven't used in several years and never really had a chance to test them out. Looks like the ducks have grown up. Don't see any fish close by. It rained in St. George yesterday. Not sure if those are sprinklers or if that's from the rain. At least the water's not too muddy, but it looks like it was affected by something, whether it was the sprinklers or rain. And the water has also drawn down quite a bit. You can see over here the weeds have matted up on the rocks. You can see where the water line used to be, so quite a bit of water lost. Alright, the first bait that I'm going to use is this Yo-zuri. It's a Snap Beans or something like that. I'll look it up later. I am going to use quick connects just because it allows me to switch them out fast and try a whole bunch of these without shortening up my line a lot by retying. I understand it's going to give a bit more weight to the thing. That's kind of a good part. But I want that. I want the extra weight, and the design of this shouldn't affect the lure too much other than causing it to sink a little faster. I was never able to use these in clear water, so I don't know what they're like. There's one bluegill, small, that saw it and went after it, so that's a good sign. I'm going to just try a slow, steady retrieve. Looks like even with the extra weight, this doesn't go too far down. This is the smallest of them. Looks like it might be 1/4 of an inch, maybe a little longer than 1/4 of an inch, yet I've got pretty good casting with this, so I like that for a ultralight. It becomes more of a sinking lure with that extra weight on it. That's kind of a good thing. Something just hit it. Couldn't see it in this reflection though. I'm guessing it's a bluegill just because it's so small, anything should be able to put this in their mouth. Well, I caught my first fish. Whoop, lost my first fish on this one. And I scared something over there. There we go. Got one out of the water, the shallows there. And it's a little bass, probably tucked up underneath the rocks. Well, there he is. He's about, I'm guessing, 8-9 inches. Little largemouth bass. First catch of the day on this little tiny Yo-zuri. Pretty sure it's called a snap bean, but you can see it's really tiny. And I was able to cast it underneath there because we're in that shallow area, because even with that extra weight, it does not go very shallow or deep, which is a problem for getting anything in the deeper water, but it's fine for this area here where you can see it's almost just inches below the surface as far as having all those weeds. So anyhow, first catch, nice that it's a bass. Had a little bluegill earlier, but I'm going to work my way around this. So I like this little bait. You could see here, this is where I'd cast it to, and again, it's very shallow. If I were to put my rod tip down, you can see it just gets to the first guide on my rod tip, so very shallow. Got hung up in this line. Let's see if we can get the line out of the water. There, I think I got it. Well, whatever was on the end broke off. That's good. Well, there's how much line I got out of the water. I wish people would just slowly pull on the line with their hand until they finally get the whole line out. Looks like there was a bird's nest at the end that somebody just cut off. If you're going to cut it off, pull it in. Don't just leave it there. I'm not sure how many of these I'll be able to test. Just came out here to fish before breakfast. See, there's a rock right in there. Let's see if there's a fish that's patrolling. This isn't going to go deep enough though, but we'll see how hungry it is. If there is something. It's always bound to be something. It's just a matter of what they feel like eating. Okay. Alright, I'm just going to work my way around this pond because I think it's just the occasional bass that's up close. And this lure will only pick up those small ones. And get this trash, which is, of course, close to a trash can. So this side tends to get more fish. At least I saw them splashing. I'm guessing that's because of the shade. So I'll have to keep that in mind. This might be problematic because my shadow is going to give me away, which means I'm going to have to cast way out and at an angle. I wonder if those are those little ducks that were here earlier in the spring. I think so. It's the right number of them. There's the Momma duck in the coming up to the front, and then 7. And I remember 7 of those ducklings were following her. So that's cool to know that only one didn't make it. There's a little hump here. Again, I'm not getting down deep enough with this. That's okay. Some turtles there. Oh, something hit. Or I hit weeds. It felt more like something because weeds would have felt sluggish. So that would have been a little bluegill in this area. Now this is way too skinny. This is probably a couple of inches, whereas that was around 4. So that's an advantage. Don't know if that's a turtle Didn't really splash like a fish. Okay, I'm just going to round this bend because my shadow's just getting in the way too much. So if you're trying something shallow, unless you do a topwater, this side next to the pavilion is definitely a lot skinnier other than casting out. I think most people cast out further, so most of their baits are probably fine. But again, there's a limitation to what this one can do, so I have to work with what I've got. That's kind of what fishing is all the time anyhow, is working with what you have, the water conditions, the weather conditions, how many people are out here. All right, we're in this very shallow area. You can see this used to be underwater. This is where the earlier beds were. Water is drawn down really, really low for this pond. I can't say that I've seen it like this, but in the past I hadn't fished it as consistently, so I wouldn't. It may have gotten like this. So to give a perspective on how small this bait is, this is a trout magnet. And trout magnet is about an inch, so this is about a ½ inch. That's what I've been throwing. I'm not sure if you can see this quick connect that I'm using. It's very small and it's symmetrical, which allows for the action of crankbait, stuff like this, to work normally. So if you were wondering, it's different just from a regular snap. Well, connected on this Bitsy pond minnow from Strike King. That's the name of that, I'm pretty sure. I haven't thrown this in several years, so wow, that feels a lot heavier than the others. And I think it's only like a 1/8 of an ounce. Let's see what I can. It's a decent depth. It didn't hit the grass at the bottom immediately, but it did touch. A little bluegill decided to look at it. Well, this one's bigger, but it sinks with the quick connect on there. Not a bad thing, but something that you just got to be aware of when you're doing something different from what the manufacturer suggests. I know there's not very many tall rocks around this pond, so even though I'm casting with 2-pound test line, most of the time I'll be able to get it out of these snags if I catch any weeds. If I hit a rock, I'm not getting it back. There's a turtle in there. Oh, look at him. He's going after my lure. Look at that turtle. I guess he really wanted it. Never realized they're that aggressive. Look at that. Look at that guy. He's a big one too. Oh, learn something every day. And there's 2 bluegills stacked up right there. They're kind of chunky, but three of them. Well, we'll try. I doubt if they'll get it. No, didn't think so. This one's too big for their mouths. Let's try this side again, and then we'll go to the next weed mat. I like this lure. I can feel it tick up the grass off the bottom. Bounces off of it maybe 50% of the time if I'm keeping it light. No bass, but have a better idea of where I can use this. Sometimes that's what you have to do, is figure out what it is that you have and know when the time is right. But if you don't take any time to try it out, you'll never know. I can adjust the height on this by raising my rod tip. It definitely is not one that you want to reel in fast because it already has a good vibration to it. And I guess to see just how much I can adjust it, I'm going to cast it up here where it might be about 6 inches and just keep it really high. Nope, snagged right there. Going to try this little one. Doing it mainly because it's a silver-sided lure, something different from the ones I was casting, which were chartreuse. Has real tech on the bottom, or a real image on the bottom, so I'm assuming this is a Cabela's lure that I picked up long ago. I don't think I've actually ever cast this one, so we'll see what it does. The other thing is I've never cast any of these in clear water, which is why I'm interested in how they work here. Right off the bat, I'm not sure I like this one. Let's see. Maybe it just needs to be adjusted. The line tie on it looks like it's bent, but let's see. Yeah, see, it's going to that far side. So that's an interesting thing. Now it goes back and forth. That may not be a bad thing. Of course, it's very interesting that it's happening. But if I know that that happens, then I can stop the retrieve and then it'll switch to the other side so it'll stay straight. So kind of like that. It's a unique action that fish will not see from most crankbaits. And it looks like the fish is fleeing. Okay, let's try this one out now. Even with that extra weight, this does not go down. Probably because I can't do a steady retrieve with it, so kind of a limitation. But as we saw with the Yo-zuri Bean, using it in the right location can work out well. So I'm not saying this is bad, it's just different. other than that line tie issue at the start. Some people, including me, used to tune our crankbaits to pull to one side intentionally so that if you were to go next to a dock, you could actually be away from the dock and the lure will pull itself towards that dock. The erraticness of this makes it possibly a really good trout bait. I think many of these would be, but I like how this one is completely unpredictable. Of course, I'm not sure if you can see what I'm talking about, of how it goes in different directions. Let me try it up here in the shallows. There, it's going that way, then it turns the other direction. To me, that's a really good lure, or a unique lure that I doubt anybody else will have. There's a fish. You didn't look at it. Of course, a good lure isn't what I like out of it. It's whether or not the fish want to eat it. So that's really interesting. This one floats even with the extra weight. That little bluegill came out and followed it. So that means I can push this towards that area and then stop, and it will come back up. That explains why this one stays pretty high up. Could explain some of the erraticness also, because the quick connect is pulling it down while its body is trying to float up. Getting this to go down is really hard. Definitely think that'll be good for trout, especially when they're hitting higher in the water column. Actually, since this is very shallow, let's try this area next to the pavilion. Oh, that was a slash. And that was a bass. Now, if this lure ends up being something that works out really well for all types of fish, I'm going to have to look to see if they're still selling it, or if I'm lucky, if they even have it on eBay. I've done that before with lures that were my favorite in the way that they had action. Now, will it actually reproduce this erratic motion? I don't know. Bluegill came up to look at it. Not sure if the fish shut down because it did rain, but caught one already. There's something that's chasing it. 3 somethings that are chasing it. Those are bluegills. One looked like a bass. The bass, of course, left, but at least looking at it. Now, what happened there, from what I saw, was when I twitched it, it changed direction away from that bass. And so even though it lunged at it, it really didn't get it. And then he took off. There's a fish chasing it. I could almost walk the dog with this. I like that. There's a bass. I think I just spooked it and it's small. Well, the new bait for today is the Charlie Brewer's Slider. This is a 1-inch paddle tail grub. Never threw this before. The reason why I got it was I was looking for something that was really small that was a swim bait, and he happened to have it, and he had it inexpensively. There's 15 in here for about $3.60, something like that. Of course there's shipping and handling, but I bought a few, so I got free shipping, and we'll try these out. Always trying to try different baits to see what they can do. And I always wanted something in this size. The instructions that they have is to throw it on a 1/32 ounce jig head, so that's what I'm going to do, and we'll see how it works. Alright, so put that on a surgeon's loop knot, and going to try this area again. Don't know if I need to do a steady retrieve or a hop. So for awareness, I buy all of my baits. I am not sponsored by anyone. I am just an avid fisherman, and I really like to know what baits I can use for different conditions. So even though this is a particular bait that I'm testing out, that's just because I can't find anything else that matches it for the same cost. That little bluegill's going right after it. If he was bigger, I bet he'd eat it. So I don't know if you could see it, but cast it here in the closer up. In a steady retrieve, it still oscillates a little bit more than just a straight retrieve. The tail action is actually really, really good. There's a bass that saw it, and he is interested in it. He just sees me. Let's see, what if we cast it way out here? So that's kind of nice that it has a little action of its own. It's also really nice that I can go very slowly and that tail action happens, which is kind of what they advertise. Most baits coming in that slow, even with a curl tail, do not vibrate. Well, here's another thing that they claim, which is absolutely true. Their tail, you can drop it down and then lift it up. As it's going down, the tail is still turning or vibrating. Let me see if I can get it closer over here. So it's going down, and you can see I can hop it, and as it's going down, it's still moving around. So that's unusual for this type of bait, but I like it. There's a hole right there. Gonna see if the tail going down gives it enough of an action for some fish to come out. Here's this fish coming to it while it's going down. Those are bass. I think they're staring at me like I'm staring at them. Look at that, 4 of them now. I don't know if you could see that. Look at that mouth. He's flaring his gills. Okay, guys. They went to it and then they went away. Guess it wasn't what they were looking for. That's interesting. These two bass are facing exactly into the rocks. All of them seem to be doing that, which means that they're just waiting for something to come out. Look, you can see them. Oh, there's 3 of them. So that's interesting that they're hunting in packs. I attracted something out of there, but they didn't want to bite it. Or they bit it, but they didn't eat it. Oh, that bluegill came out, that's all. I was hoping there'd be a bass underneath there, but it looks like the bass are in the shallows right now, looking for any minnows or small bluegills to come out. I've seen so many of them doing that. My first bass came out from there too. Well, it looks like it's time to try something that I'm used to, which is the honeyworm, and maybe even break out the Tenkara, see if it makes a difference with these guys, and then call it a day. Time to have a little fun before I go and get breakfast. Back to the gulp maggot. Already, there's my first one. Come back. All right. Look at you. It's a bluegill. Nice bluegill. Okay. Bye-bye. We cast this way. Got him. And there he goes. That was kind of deep, but since it was barbless, it came straight out nice and easily. There they are. Got him. Okay. Gonna let you go. There. Into the weeds. Got him. Here he goes. Well, I think it's time for breakfast, so thanks for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it. I it was really nice for me to finally get out to do some fishing again and try out some new baits and old baits that really haven't been used as much where I used to fish. So I can definitely see making use of them over here and trying out some more of them. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Leave some comments if you have any. Look forward to videotaping the next fishing session that I have. Till then, take care. Bye.